Well, you know, Ed, this is one of these moments, one of these times that I treasure. You can never hear enough about this. You can never look at enough of this material, and you can always celebrate the people that went before us and what they did, and then the masters who have picked up and they're carrying on their tradition. And I've even heard it said, Ed, that we're making these better now than they were making them. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. I think we are. We've got, of course, we're using copper instead of just stone and bone.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the guys, I mean, I started with stone and bone, and some of the things that I had to originally were, you know, I could make you can do some nice points. This point might have half hour in it, okay?
Well, now let me ask that question. Roy, we asked him, in this part of the process, if you sat down and you started to work to get from here to finish this, how long would that take?
Maybe tops hour and a half.
Wow.
Working at this pace I do now.
That is incredible.
Now, let's go back to this. This takes a lot of time to walk through a lot of different ravines and creeks and streams to find the material. You're going to log a lot of hours in here. And then, you know, you got to carry it out. Then you got to sit down. I'll tell you a quick story. Roy and I both hunted one of these streams. We had permission from the gentleman, and we hunted the same area. And there was a big old oak log right along the edge of the stream, a big gravel bar washed up there, you know. And I got there and I sat down on the log and I looked down by my feet and here's all these black flakes.
Oh no.
So I get my cell phone out, got one bar, and I called him. I said, "Hey, were you down here in the creek?" "Yeah, I was down there Tuesday." I said, "Okay." He says, "Yeah, but it rained since." I said, "How did you know I was there?" I said, "I'm sitting right by your debitage pile." And he said, "Oh, I'm getting old. I don't want to take any of that light stuff. You know, I want my load to be as light as I can to go out, you know." But
oh man.
I wanted to show you.
Yeah, Ed, what's this?
So this is Zaleski. Now everybody thinks Zaleski's this dark jet black flint.
I was one of those people.
Okay. Zaleski has just as much gray around it as, you know, just the jet black stuff.
Like Coshocton.
Yes.
A wide range of colors of flint.
It's all part of the Upper Mercer.
Got it.
So these are preforms. These are Aborigine preforms. These are, you know, old ones. And this is just a mottled gray with cream.
3 or 4? Stage 3 or 4?
That's probably, it's in between 2 and 4. So yeah, we'll put that as a 3.
Okay.
Here's another one. It's kind of a gunmetal gray. It's got some tan in it. It's a little rougher, but you can see they've taken flakes off here and across here.
We call that lenticular thinning.
And see, there's part of a squared edge that they didn't worry about yet, but they checked it all around for, is it gonna flake all the way? And that was picked up out of the field just like it was down in Benton County.
And where was that field?
Down past the second oak tree by the 4th hickory. And this piece here, now you would say, oh, it's Nellie Chert, right? That come from Zaleski as well. So wherever you go, there's high grade and low grade. So a lot of times, even in Flint Ridge, sometimes the best flints are found right up at the top of the head or along the edges.
What does that mean? Near the top of the head.
Okay.
What is the head?
Okay, so let's say this is a flint head. It's a little one. Now, make this so it's about 50 tons. So it's going to be 6 foot high.
Is this underground? Or
this is underground.
Underground, okay.
And the Indians dug down and they started tapping, and, you know, they found that just sometimes the surface was where the best flint was. But there's times that, in modern times when I'm digging, I find the best flints down inside the very middle because all this has been fractured and, you know, it's full of checks and cracks.
Got it.
So, but yeah, but a lot of times the stuff in the center might be all full of crystals, iron pockets. It might be around the edges. And it's the same with this material here. We find, well, like, wow, look at that. That really come from that's a good source of flint you got there. I probably went through all this stuff to get to that piece.
Wow.
Sooner or later.
Okay.
And now here's a piece of real waxy gray, dark gray, gunmetal. You can see that's the patina where it was laying in the creek. This is a flake that just got knocked off. But I found a lot of these where they were heat treating these.
Is that a prehistoric flake, Ed?
Yes.
Is that, Roy got there before you.
No, it's prehistoric.
Okay.
So it was just, you know, in the creek.
Uh-huh.
But I found an area up on top of a knoll where they were heat treating this material because it had these same colorations.
Okay.
And a lot of these, anything that was tan turned a, you know, light red.
So let me ask a question. I'm going to put this right here.
Yep.
And I'm looking at these, and I'm thinking, did this, in the progression, would this have been an earlier preform than this? Okay, and so we're moving down to,
yeah,
checkmate.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I'd say that's safe to say because see these two, look at so you have cross section, you have your dorsal ridge. One side's generally going to be a little flatter.
Yeah.
But you have the same thing as this, a little flatter on one side and a little higher dorsal ridge on the other side.
Got to ask you about
Yeah.
the Zaleski black that we find in the Kashak, like the high gloss, the ebony. Is that coming out of Coshocton or down in the Zaleski
Both.
area? Both.
Yep.
And has it been heat treated to
No,
get that
no.
ebony look?
What it is, there's times that we hit a little pocket of that stuff and we call it black marble.
Okay.
What it is, it's high enough silica content that it doesn't really show much patination except shine. Plus, you got to understand, these things were used cutting through flesh. They had blood on them. They had fat on them. All that stuff imparts wear. There's certain Flint Ridge flints that won't really patina.
Okay.
They just polish because it's such a high grade of silica. And I think that's what a lot of this black flint is. It's just very rich in silica.
Well, Ed, I brought some field finds in.
Okay,
And
let's slide
I'm
this
gonna
down.
See what the professor has to say here.
Let's move to the next box.
Well, this let me pull the Flint ones out first, okay? These were field finds. This is this year field find.
Oh wow!
A lot of this is a Adena village site that this came off of.
And where's that at?
Oh, it's just past the groundhog hole by that hickory tree.
Okay.
Remember?
All right.
Okay, what do we got here, Ed?
Yeah. Prehistoric preform. It definitely is. Now, this
Did they give up on it, or they
possibly. So when you're just using a hammerstone, it's hard to control the strikes and to get these thinning flakes off because you need more width to get the flakes to travel farther. But this could also yield enough pieces of sharp edge flakes to use for cutting. But yeah, it's a preform, and if you ask me, Ed, can you make something out of that? Yeah, I could. It'd take a little bit because you got all this thickness, you know. But other than that, yeah, it's a pretty neat piece.
And so, for some reason, unbeknownst to us, it just
maybe
was left in the field.
So I can show you buckets of stuff that I've just quit working on.
Okay, well, let's move down the line here.
Why would they not be any different? Let's say this was a lot bigger. Let's say it was that big. But he just couldn't get this knot off of here, you know, and he worked and see, that's rust down inside there and, you know, probably calcites and everything else holding that all together. And that's hard to drive through because stuff like that or like quartz crystal stops the energy.
Got it.
From the strike.
Got it.
Stops the energy. See, he was doing better here and here and again. Maybe the guy was just learning. Maybe just, you know, a younger guy.
Right. So, Ed, what stage preform would that be? I guess.
Probably a 2.
A 2.
Yeah, he's taken it out and knocked a few flakes off of it.
Okay.
It is a biface because we have flakes on both faces.
I'm trying to shift
but
these
it's not
around
very
real quick
thin.
into what they might be in.
Yeah, I think
preform.
yeah.
What do we got
Okay,
here?
so this
These are
one
field
here
found also.
is the gray Coshocton, and he's hit on it until he's come up to the conclusion that it's no good because there's a crack right here and a crack going back out this way.
These are not hinge fractures. These are just natural, sadly, inclusions.
There's a crack line right here. You watch my finger. It goes up to here.
Okay.
Feeds in here. And the one thing I found out is a lot of the flint gets moved underground and there's pressure on it, so it cracks it.
Okay.
There's a crack right there.
So we're looking at maybe a stage 2?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's not a 3 yet because it's...
All right.
See, it has really no... Oh, looky here. You forgot this. Look at this.
Hammerstone?
No, they've used that as a scraper.
No kidding.
Look at it. See all the little micro edges taken off right there?
Okay.
They've scraped something with it. Look at the other end. Doesn't have any wear use, but...
Ed, your experience, when you're finding these workshop sites, maybe a quarter of a mile from a possible village site, certainly they wouldn't want all these razor blades where their kids and people are walking around.
Well,
Subjective.
I would say maybe at the edge of the village.
Okay.
You don't want to be too far away.
All right, let's work on these.
Of course, if it was me, I'd want to be about a half a mile away so nobody would bother me.
Okay.
It's not like kids running around. Some kids are okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we've got probably a rough stage 3. It is bifaced on both sides. And that looks like some gnarly material. There again, see the rust? The rust color in it is just that. It's iron oxides that has settled into the material.
So they were not able to remove the lenticular part of this?
Nope.
To get that thinning
So
down?
what happens is this edge is real steep right here.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can see he hit here, and he couldn't get that off. That would not come off. Okay. See over here, he did a little bit better, but here there's more of that concentration of this rust, this oxide. So
me being curious, I'd say, okay, I can't do plan A, but if I hold it right here, I've got a place to grab it. Maybe I could retouch a knife here.
yes, you could do that.
So what I'm basically saying is that it was pretty fluid. I mean, they could move different directions for different tools, right?
Right. But when you're finding this stuff, though, this is just a discard.
Okay.
You can go back right behind my shop there. And you'll find all sorts of discards.
That's why we're finding all this, because they're except this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just leave that one here and see what I can do with that there. I kind of like that. Now, I can tell you right now, this is really beautiful to look at. But when I feel it with it's dry, it's grainy.
Okay.
So what this is, it's just lower on silica content. Take your finger across here, and you can actually see it.
Oh, it's very granular.
It's very granular. Versus this piece that's nice and smooth. It's homogeneous, and this isn't. This is a little bit more grainy. Look here, see, it was real dry up in here. But it could have been like, well, I worked this hard on it, I'm going to take it just in case. And they may have taken it because they like the lightning bolts in it. You don't know. We know they like good-looking rocks. We do.
Well, we're further down the progression of preforms, right? Are we getting close to final stage here or not?
I would say this would be a good stage 4 candidate. And then, because what this was a tab. It was probably a tabular piece that broke off.
Okay.
So, and there's part of the tabular piece left, which you'll see in a lot of old points. There'll be some of this in the middle where it was from a plate, we call them.
So this probably was not a throwaway. This is something that they either not got to or...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let me talk about some other preforms.
Okay.
I think most people, when you and I, somebody were casually talking preform, oh, that's Flint, but these are field finds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Wing Bannerstone.
It's noteworthy to mention that they also worked on slate.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have progressions of preforms with their things. This one is not as far along as this one.
But yeah, they were just taking hammerstones and chipping this stuff and then get down to a certain point and then start working it, This is probably going to be a gorget, I would say.
Oh, at least a 2-hole.
Yeah.
All right, now this is just for fun.
Okay.
Because if we're set up, we have a serious camp or a village site, and we're delegating out responsibilities, and I send someone down to the river, they're not going to go, and we're going to be on our site all summer, they're not going to bring back 1 or 2 potential hammers. They're going to get a whole sack full and bring them back. So they set their sack down, and maybe in the course of a summer, they use half or 3/4 of them. And maybe some of them, they just never used.
Just never
And
got
we
to.
find them laying in the fields. So interestingly, Preforms, stage one.
Yeah.
No, just
Fresh
kidding.
out of the creek.
Now, this one came from a friend who follows our YouTube site, Suzanne, and this is over in the Downton area. And when you look at it, it's got that geometrics to it. But as we really look at it,
I see it.
now we're beginning to see something. And look at this. This versus this. So this versus
More pitted, more smooth.
and the color. I was asking her if this came out of a clay-based field. She said there was a lot of clay in that field.
I would say this is natural polish, and they've been grinding something with this.
All right.
It could have been grains. It could have been.
Can you feel that
Yeah, oh,
geometric
yeah.
going around
Yeah.
it like that?
You find some of these that have a facet all the way around them. No one really knows what they were for.
Hammerstones?
But they look like a hammerstone, but they have this geometric
Yeah.
around them, and then they have where they've like ground where my thumbnails are all the way
Okay.
around, so it kind of leaves like a ridge.
Yeah. It's here.
Yeah, it's just starting. So maybe they're, I don't know what they were for.
All right. Let me toss one more thing in here before we conclude for the day.
Okay.
And I tell everybody, and I'm going to say it again: when you pick up a piece of flint, you want to be the mother that just birthed an infant, and you take every little finger and hold it. You hold the little toes. There's that intimacy that you have to have when you look at these things. You want to touch them, feel them, and in the process, we saw something that she didn't. We saw what looked like a crack in the rock, but with a high magnification, we can see that this is not the rock cracking. This was imposed into the stone. We're like, wow. And then the more we looked at this, the more we could see that they actually did this. And then inadvertently, my other videographer was sitting there looking. She goes, look, there's like a shadow. They did the same thing over here. And I'm like, oh my gosh. You know how the hopewell sometimes would do like a hawk and one side and the other? But the point for me today and everybody who's watching us is take the time. You were in the field, you put the hours in, you got the material, you collected it, you washed it. Don't just stop with, oh, I got a round stone, maybe it's a hammer. No. Look at it. We found the geometrics here, didn't we, Ed? Right? And then now we're finding maybe an effigy or even a shadow, a reflection. What you got over there?
Well, I've found a lot of hammerstones in my life. Of course, digging in the flint pits, that's the only artifacts.
That doesn't count.
No, but that's all I find is these, hammerstones.
Yeah.
And I have a couple that I've actually taken and picked out a couple of pieces of flint. So it was a green hammerstone, and they were hitting black flint, which Nethers has a lot of black flint in it.
Okay.
And I found little bits of shards of
Oh my!
the flint still down in the hammerstone.
That just doesn't that make you feel that much
Well, it's
closer
just kind
to the
of
person? That
just
producing
kind of
it?
neat,
Question.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for patterns, context, and patterns. Is there a wide range of hammers, or is there one size that seems to dominate more than the other sizes?
Baseball size.
Baseball size.
Yeah.
Quality of the mineral in the hammerstone.
Green granite or green hardstone.
Green hardstone.
It seems to be that, and this is a lot. This is granite. I'm pretty sure like a granite, and but a lot of them, they're just picked up out of that's been used on both ends, mostly that end and some here, but
Right.
that's just a simple. Well, if I had dropped that would have been nice. Wouldn't it?
there was our final product. Well, Ed, thanks again.
Stage X.
yeah. It was like as an exit stage left.
Yeah.
All right, so creek found,
Yep.
coming through the stages of preforms to the final product,
Final product.
and then just out in a field. Preforms are not restricted to just flint, are they?
No.
We could apply this to slate, and I'm even finding some concretions that have been worked. I'm finding shale
Wait till you get
that's been
to.
worked.
You can find. I know a guy that has a couple preforms from stone axes that never got finished.
Oh my goodness!
So they
Oh,
actually
my.
took a hammerstone and roughed out a blank of tough rock, and then started the pecking and grinding process to shape it. But yeah, I've seen a couple of those.
So, guess what? This is a lifelong learner process, right?
Yeah. When you think you know it all, it'll humble you. You don't know anything.
Yeah, one of you made a comment a while back, and I loved it, and I still laugh about it. He said, "I've collected for years, but I realize I don't know." You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what it's about, and that's the joy of finding a good YouTube that you're comfortable with. And just a reminder, we're with Ed Moreland, an Ohio Flint Knapper, who, like Roy, has the most wonderful integrity. Most of you know him. You do now. You all know Ed. And I just want to thank you for following us today. So we'll see you soon.
See ya.